In 1998, while the world was distracted by the illusion of prosperity and the promise of a new digital age, one of the most powerful financial institutions on the planet quietly opened its doors to a man who would later be exposed as one of the darkest operators in modern history. JPMorgan, a bank that publicly claims to represent stability, compliance, and integrity, accepted Jeffrey Epstein not as a risk, not as a liability, but as a prized client. At the time, few questioned how a man with opaque wealth and mysterious connections could move so freely through the highest levels of global finance. The public was told that the banking system was tightly regulated, protected by know-your-customer laws and anti-money laundering safeguards designed to stop exactly this type of individual. But the unsealing of the Epstein Files has now proven that these rules were never meant to apply to the elite. For the average citizen, a single unusual transaction can trigger account freezes, interrogations, and lifetime financial suspicion. Yet for more than 15 years, JPMorgan ignored thousands of warning signs tied to Epstein's accounts. This was not incompetence. It was not a technological oversight. It was a deliberate institutional choice. Epstein was not treated as a client. He was treated as an asset, a financial node in a much larger system of power, influence, and leverage that extended deep into Wall Street, Washington, and beyond. The situation should have ended in 2008 when Epstein was convicted of serious crimes in Florida. Any functioning compliance system would have immediately terminated his banking relationships. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Rather than shutting him out, JPMorgan elevated him. Epstein was quietly moved into a private client category, shielded from standard oversight and protected by senior executives. This VIP status allowed millions of dollars to move through the banking system without meaningful scrutiny. Every safeguard that supposedly protects the integrity of the financial system was bypassed, overridden, or ignored. Internal documents revealed through court proceedings show that between 2008 and 2013 alone, JPMorgan generated more than 40 internal alerts related to Epstein's suspicious withdrawals and wire transfers. These alerts were not dismissed by machines. They were manually overridden by human beings at the highest levels of the organization. These executives understood exactly who Epstein was and what he represented. He was a conduit between the banking system and the political elite, a man who specialized in compromise, a blackmail hub embedded directly into the global financial infrastructure. This is why the $290 million settlement paid by JPMorgan is so revealing. The public has been told it was compensation, accountability, or closure. In reality, it was hush money, a strategic payment designed to prevent a public trial that would have forced the release of thousands of emails, internal memos, and communications between Epstein and top banking officials. A trial would have exposed the coded language, the favors, and the deeply disturbing familiarity between Epstein and individuals like Jess Staley. By paying nearly $300 million, the bank effectively purchased silence and placed the most damaging evidence behind an impenetrable legal firewall. And even that was not the end. The U.S. Virgin Islands secured an additional $75 million, pushing the total cost of secrecy beyond $365 million in a single year. These numbers matter because they reveal scale. Banks do not pay hundreds of millions of dollars unless the alternative is catastrophic exposure. For JPMorgan, this amount represented a tiny fraction of annual revenue, a negligible operating expense compared to the information, leverage, and institutional protection they preserved. The implications go far beyond one bank or one criminal network. The Unsealed files suggest that Epstein maintained ties to officials within the Federal Reserve and other global regulatory bodies. This created a closed loop of protection that lasted decades. The people responsible for setting interest rates, controlling liquidity, and shaping monetary policy were frequent participants in a system built on compromise. When policymakers are blackmailed, democracy becomes an illusion. Decisions affecting your savings, your job, and your future are no longer made freely. They are made under threat. This is why the exposure of the Epstein Files is being used as a catalyst for a larger transformation. The public is being shown corruption at the highest levels to justify the demolition of the existing banking model. The solution being offered is not freedom or reform, but total digitization. Central bank digital currencies promise transparency while delivering absolute surveillance. Every transaction tracked, every purchase approved or denied by an algorithm. Zero privacy, zero escape. While the media focuses on sensational crime details, the real financial damage continues behind the scenes. The dollar is being hollowed out by a leadership class too compromised to confront reality. Unrealized banking losses exceeding $500 billion are not isolated accounting problems. They are symptoms of a system unable to act decisively because exposure would destroy those in charge. Insiders understand this, which is why wealth is quietly flowing out of digital systems and into physical assets at historic speed. If your life savings sit inside institutions that have already proven they will sacrifice integrity to protect themselves, you must ask whether your deposits are truly safe. Bail-in laws exist for a reason. When the weight of debt and scandal becomes unbearable, deposits will be reclassified, frozen, or converted. Physical gold and silver stand apart because they cannot be censored, deleted, or blackmailed. This is why smart money is leaving the system. The unsealing of documents in early 2026 confirmed what many suspected for years. The repeal of banking safeguards in the late 1990s removed the firewalls that once protected the financial system from criminal capture. Epstein emerged precisely at that moment, acting as a bridge between deregulated banks and political power. Emails and communications reveal a level of familiarity that goes far beyond professional interaction. When a bank executive is compromised by a client, the institution itself becomes an extension of the criminal network. This is not the collapse of a few bad actors. It is the controlled demolition of trust. The exposure of elites is being used to usher in a technocratic order built on digital compliance and total financial surveillance. Cash is being phased out. Physical ownership is being discouraged. Meanwhile, China and Russia are building gold-backed systems independent of the compromised Western financial order. They understand that a blackmailed system cannot remain a global reserve. You are watching the greatest geopolitical and financial shift in human history. Wealth is moving away from illusion and back toward tangible reality. The window to act is narrowing. By the time the news reports bank closures, exits will already be locked. The Epstein Files are not just a scandal. They are proof that the system has failed its people. The $290 million secret is the first visible crack in the dam. Once the flow begins, no settlement, no media campaign, and no legal maneuver can stop it. History shows that during periods of institutional decay, those who rely on governments and banks suffer the most. Those who act independently survive. This moment demands awareness, courage, and action. The responsibility for financial protection now lies entirely with the individual. Stay focused on physical reality because the digital trap is closing, the truth is out, the metal matters, and the time to act is now.